the Small Print Podcast. I'm your host, Elise, and I blog at roulettereader.wordpress.com.
I'm Dawn, and I blog at bangbangbookblog.com.
And today, we are going to present you with in our opinion, the worst books of 2016.
Yeah. Some of you may not agree. We may not agree with each other's lists. We kind of have not seen what we have on each other's list, so it'll be a shock to us as well. So,
I'm scared.
If you love these books, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We didn't. Okay.
All right. I'll let you... Oh, wait. One more thing to say. We have rated these books from least worst to worst, so it gets progressively worse as our lists go on. So I'll let you go first.
Okay, so my least worst is actually a 2017 book that I read in 2016, and it is The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles. This has got a very big marketing campaign,
yes.
So if you've been to any BA or any other conference or teen,
even if you're a librarian,
visit, yeah,
like we've gotten like 3 or 4 copies of this book in the mail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I found it's a romance, and I did not realize that. I thought it was dystopian for some reason, but it's a pretty vanilla romance. It's kind of lame, and it was really boring. It started off really well. She's trying to find her brother in the snowstorm, and then this mysterious guy comes out of nowhere, but that was... It just doesn't live up to the hype of the marketing campaign. So, sorry, Jeff Giles.
I'm starting to become weary because a few of the books on my list are that kind of situation where it was sent to us months in advance, and we saw it at every conference we went to, and it's like... So, My first book is The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge, and I say this with sadness because I know this is one of Dawn's favorite books of this year. But it just did not sync with me. This is sort of a historical, paranormal, feminist book. I liked those aspects. I thought this was a unique book, but for some reason, the main character is what mostly bothered me about this book. I didn't find her interesting, despite the fact that she does have, like, interesting aspects to her. I read this a long time ago, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I liked the time period where the world was kind of transitioning from being religiously based to kind of operating more off of, like, scientific fact, and that's a really interesting time period in history that I'm surprised more authors don't kind of, like, speculate about. So that was one reason that I did like the book. I found that time period very interesting, but the main character bothered me. So that was my problem. And I just couldn't get over it. Yeah.
Alright, my next one is The Rebel of Sands by, I don't know how to say this name, Alwyn Hamilton. I know I'm the minority of this one. A lot of people enjoyed this book. I just found this book to it had the same or similar plot to other books. You have this girl who has this mannish talent. She's a sharpshooter or something, and she wants to get out of her boring little town, and she can't get out of her boring little town until one day she finally finds a way, and then it's just this road trip book. So basically the plot is she needs to just get out of her town to find her aunt, and that's the plot.
Yikes.
But that's not a plot.
Why does she need to find her aunt?
Because she has nowhere else to go. So she needs to, otherwise she'll be homeless. So she's trying to get out of her town to go to her aunt's house or whatever.
It's not very deep. It's more of a tale than a
novel. It's a road trip book, and stuff happens along the way, along the road. And this is a spoiler, but the ending was just like, here we go. So, yeah, it was really boring. It was just boring.
That sucks. My next book is one that you've heard me talk about before if you listen to our podcast. It was The Raven King. Again, this one really pains me. But this is my favorite YA series, and I love the characters. I love Blue, I love Gansey. If you're not familiar with the series, it's about a group of teens that are really interested in ley lines and, like, the paranormal, and this Welsh king specifically, and they believe that he's buried somewhere in the small rural area of Virginia. So they're trying to find him, and the story is much more deep and complex than that, but that's just kind of like a simplification of what it is. So at some point, the premise guarantees that you're either going to find Glendower or you're not. And the build-up for this situation has been so intense that you're like, there's no way that she can't deliver. Well, she didn't. So this last book just really, 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 A, pissed me off, and B, disappointed me.
I gave it a high rating, but I see where you're coming from, because I do think the revelation of Glendower was pretty disappointing. I do agree with that. I think I gave it a higher rating because of the previous books. I like them so much. So, but yeah, there were some things I was just like, we didn't need Henry, and I don't get the B, and there were some other things I just didn't get why she had it in there. But her level of writing,
Yes.
I think, is what kind of saved it for me.
Definitely, and I didn't give this book a worse rating because her writing is so wonderful. She's a very, very talented writer. I think Steve Otter is popular, but she's underrated in terms of how popular she could be. I just, and it's not even a like unmet expectations, because I can't judge an author for not necessarily giving me what I wanted. It was just, I felt like the plot got away from her and she just needed to end it.
I feel like she was like over the series. Yes. She's like, I need to just, because it's
compared
the
to
book.
I felt that way in book
wonderful.
3. Books 1 and 2 had such a build, and book 2 you're like, this is happening, like it is on. And then 3 was okay, and we were actually getting somewhere in terms of the Glendower search, and that was really exciting. But 3 was like, what is happening? Or 4 is like, what is happening? So, yeah.
I think she was just over it, and she was just like, let's just end this now.
Yep.
And she rushed it.
Yeah.
Well, it actually was pushed back. I don't know. Anyway, so my next one is Into the Dim by Janet B. Taylor, and this was marketed as Outlander, not Highlander. Outlander for teens, which it was not.
But they are Highlanders.
Okay.
The people in the Scottish Highlands.
Oh,
okay.
I'm
sorry, I was making a joke.
Well, that didn't land. This book, it started off okay. Time travel can be tricky because there's a lot of rules. But it was just too on the nose. It was just hitting you over the head with the misogyny, and then there's this Jewish girl, and so they go back to 14 something, and so this he's in love with a Jewish girl, and of course that's frowned upon, and everybody's like assaulting her all the time, and it was just really predictable and slow and not very good.
Thanks. Incidentally, my next book is also a time travel book. This was The Girl from Everywhere. At the beginning of the year, this was probably one of my most anticipated reads of 2016. I haven't really read a lot of pirate YA fiction in recent years, and so I was excited that that was kind of coming back a little bit. But this book was... It was disappointing. The book set itself up for success. You've got a really serious conflict between a father and the daughter, but unfortunately they do not go into that at all, except the fact that she has a lot of things that she holds against him because he keeps asking the impossible of her, and I think, doesn't she, like, blame him for her mother's death? I mean, there's a whole...
I think he blames her.
He blames her, right. Somebody blames somebody for the mother's death. But that's it. They don't go into resolution at all. It was just not really handled in a way that I thought was good or realistic, to be honest. The only thing I liked about this book is that they time travel into the tomb in China. I cannot tell you what it's called, I'm sorry, but it's the tomb that no one has been able to excavate because they know that if they do, something will get destroyed or it might collapse. It's in that mountain, but it's with all the terracotta warriors. That's the only thing they've been able to excavate. So they actually travel inside the tomb in this book, and of course it's speculation. Like we kind of can guess what we think is inside. That was incredible. That was such a really cool scene. But everything else, I didn't feel like she really went deep into Hawaiian culture in this book, and I wanted more of that. They kind of gloss over the surface about how the girl is a mixed character and she seems to have her own problems with that, but they don't really talk about it. It was a very surface level novel, and that's what bothered me. Again, I felt like this book had a lot going for it, but it needed to be expanded a little bit more, and I think it's a series.
Yeah.
I might read the second book just to see what happens, if she kind of like goes deeper into this plot, because I needed a little bit more from this book and I just didn't get it. The romance was horrible. That was one of my biggest complaints. The romance between her and this
really?
white guy from the island, did not like it.
Oh, that guy. Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about
no,
Kaz
not the other guy.
Cash or...
No, but she didn't really. That was kind of like a Kaz and Inez situation. Like neither of them were really giving in. But I'm talking about the other guy.
Yeah.
The one who was pursuing her. That was a debut from Heidi Heilig. So I'll read book 2. I didn't hate it that much. I'll see what happens in book 2, and then judge.
All right. So I did have a book, but when you said pirates, I was like, oh, I forgot about this book that was way worse than this book. So I'm going to change it. So nice. I have added Black Hearts, and I don't remember the author's name. This was bad.
Ooh.
This was, it had potential because it was about a biracial girl, and I want to say it was the 1700s, so she's half black, half white. But they don't really talk about that in the book. I know that racism was abolished. Not racism. Slavery.
Like, wait, I'm sorry, what?
Slavery was abolished like in the early 1800s or late
Where?
1800s in England.
In England?
Far
I do
earlier.
not know.
It is. It's somewhere in like mid 1800s or something, like way before America. And I don't remember exactly where this takes place, but anyway, she still looks like a black girl, and that is never really talked about at all. And then what's the name of the pirate? Blackbeard? When he was a teen. They don't really go into that too much. It's more of a romance, and it's just not a well done romance. It's kind of a mystery too, and it's once again really predictable, and it's just a weak storyline. It's like on the surface. Is that what you called, Heidi? On the surface writing. There is no character development, no world building, nothing really deep going on. Beautiful cover, but
exactly. Girl from Everywhere had a gorgeous cover. That was it. My next book is another one that was really, 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 really hyped. It was Vasa in the Night. When was the original publication date? September?
I don't know.
October? It was sometime this fall. I read it over the summer. It's a retelling of a Russian folk myth called Vasilia the Beautiful. And had I not read the myth beforehand, I would have been like, what in the world? So I knew that things were going to get weird, and I knew the general premise of what was going to go down, but none of it ended up making sense. And don't get me wrong, I like weird YA. I do. I enjoy, uniqueness that is just really twisty. But this was just weird for weirdness' sake, and the whole bit of it did not make sense. I thought the writing was beautiful. I like that sort of sweeping mythological type of writing. But this, I didn't understand the character of Baba Yaga. I didn't get her motive. Either one minute she was like a sleeping old lady at the counter, and then the next she's like this axe swinging maniac. It's like, what is happening? That bothered me. I like the main character and her little talking doll friend, Erg. Erg was the best part of that book. She was sarcastic, she was funny, she just did whatever she wanted, and she always seemed to know what was going on, whereas the main character really didn't. So that was kind of nice. It gave some centering to the plot, to an otherwise crazy plot. And I don't know, I could go on and on, but I'll just leave it there.
Okay. My next one was very popular, and a lot of people liked it, and I thought it stunk big time, was And I Darken by Kirsten White. So it starts off really well, and they start off, she's the daughter of Vlad the Impaler. So you think you're going to get this really dark book, and the girl, the young girl, he did not want a daughter, and so she has to live up to this. My father does not want me, but I need to be better. And so then she has a little brother, but the little brother is a weakling. So now, of course, the boy is gonna inherit everything, but he doesn't earn it because he's a little weakling. But she still loves him and she tries to take care of him. So and when she's like a kid, like 7, 8, she's a very strong girl. She watches someone get impaled in front of her, and she is great. But as soon as she turns into a teenager and she starts to fall for the Sultan, who, by the way, is not a likable character at all. He's horrible. He treats everybody horribly. He's also a weakling. But every decision this girl makes from the end of that book is because of this horrible guy. And this is from a girl who was incredibly strong. Meets some guy, every decision she makes, just garbage.
Yikes.
I was like, really? And then the second half of that book, and this is a big ass book, was no plot. No plot. It's just, we're all over the place. So I was disappointed. I was expecting like a really great, epic read about dark, and no.
Yeah, that sucks. It has a beautiful cover too.
Mm-hmm.
My next book is Caraval. God.
Mine is a little lower than that.
Oh, I read some books worse than that, so that's why it's on the 4th. I have a lot to say about Caraval, but
we did a podcast of Caraval, so if you want to,
that's right, I forgot about that.
Really hear our in-depth distaste for it.
Yeah, go read that book. I feel like we are in the few that do not like that book. For some reason, it has good ratings on Goodreads, and I, to this day, do not understand why. Yeah, go listen to the podcast. It wasn't a good book. It didn't live up to its expectations. It's like you said, the females are extraordinarily tropey. Like, literally, I felt like the author Googled female tropes, picked 2, and wrote about them.
I'd say more than 2.
Oh
I'd say,
God.
like, tropey villain.
Oh my God, everything was tropey.
Skanky sister.
Yes, like, she slut-shames her
guy.
Sister, yet they're best friends and love each other, and she's this, like, virginal Mary Sue, and, like, everybody loves her, and she's so gorgeous, and oh my God. Oh, it was so bad. And it's supposed to take place in this, like, magical game world, and that was the only thing that kept me through to the end, and even that was, like, none of it was there for any reason other than to have shock value, I felt like.
Yeah, it didn't drive the plot at all.
Not at all. Mm-mm.
So Caraval was second to last on my list, but my next one is Assassin's Heart.
Oh.
Is that on your list? I know it is.
Oh my God!
Is it next,
or
is it the worst?
It's the worst. That's my worst
okay.
book.
So yeah, I have Assassin's Heart by Sarah Ahers. Oh, okay. So it starts off really strong where she comes home and like something really bad has happened. I thought that was very bold for the author to just do that. Because authors don't do that traditionally. And so it starts off okay, and then I would say right after that big thing happens and she has to go and find her uncle because she's alone and she wants revenge, it's just...
It's all about a boy. And that's what really drove me up the wall.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
And she couldn't do... She's. It's like she's supposed to be a classic Hamlet character, except really badly written. Like, oh my gosh, his family killed... Oh, wait, that's a spoiler. But essentially, no, it's not actually. You know that his family, because it says on the back.
Yeah, the families do, yeah.
Oh my gosh, his family killed my family. I need to kill them. I need to get revenge. She literally says that on every GD page. So much so, to the point where it became such a distraction that I was laughing every time she says it. That is not a good thing when you have an intense, like, fantasy plot and, like, death of families. Your readers are laughing at your book. Ooh. No. Please continue.
Yeah, I didn't leave any notes here because I knew you were going to have a lot to say.
Oh, yes.
The author did keep reminding us over and over and over again that was horrible. And she also kept bothering her uncle about it. Help me. And he's like, girl, leave me alone. I don't want to help you, you know? And one or two times, okay, but damn, a lot. Mm-hmm. And then what was the thing with the other guy that she met? Like she was training him. Or...
My major problem with this book is that we, as the reader, come to this book with the understanding that she's supposed to be this assassin that has trained her entire life to be an assassin. So she probably knows how to handle a blade. She's probably very skilled in the art of espionage and, like, hiding yourself and all these things that make someone a good assassin. But yet, she doesn't seem to be able to do anything without a man at her side. First, it was that guy, the Romeo character, because this is supposed to be like a Romeo and Juliet type story. Don't remember his name, don't care. He was so boring. He was like a mama's boy, and I don't like those characters at all. And then there's this other guy that she meets once she realizes that her uncle, a man, will not help her. So she gets his help, and he, like, saves her life because she gets attacked in an alley. I'm like, can you not do anything for yourself? Don't you have training? I was so pissed at that book. I have very strong feelings about. So this is my worst book. This is the last on my list because this was so angering to me. Like, this book, no. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, and it has a Deus Ex Machina ending,
Yeah.
which was also a final, like, straw in the nail in the coffin.
It
Straw
ain't
in
straw
the
in
hat.
the
Isn't it a
coffin.
straw in a hat?
I've never heard that.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you have these
My
idioms
I
that
know.
I've never heard of before.
Yeah, sometimes I get my idioms wrong. Yeah. Oh God, this book is bad. Stay away from it. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Okay.
As a woman, it will piss you off. Like, that's how I felt. I felt literally angry at this book.
That, my next one's Caraval, but we already talked about it. So my final book is Nemesis by Anna Banks. Yikes. So this book has a beautiful cover. It's the one with the girl. She's, like, got silver paint on her.
Great cover.
Great cover. But this has, I think Anna as well as Stephanie did a Google search of tropes and how we should write our books full of tropes. So this girl is, first trope it has, I don't know if this is a trope or if this is just really bad. It's the white woman saves all the brown people.
That's
trope.
definitely a trope.
It's a trope?
That's
Okay.
a trope.
So that happens. It's in a Egypt setting. Look, it's not called Egypt, but it looks like it. It sounds like it. And she comes in and saves all the brown people, and of course everyone loves her because she's beautiful. She's also very sheltered, like her father kept her caged because she has a special power. But all of a sudden she's winning wars. She tells the general how to win the war. No, that's a bad trope. And
Son
then
genius, yeah.
Son genius. And then what got me is, she goes to meet this king of Egypt. I'll just say that because it's an Egypt type country, land, whatever. And she goes to him because she doesn't want war. Her father is, like, hell-bent on starting a war with this other country, and she's going to help them so that there is no war.
Exactly like
Lord of the
plot.
Rings?
No, this sounds
You
exactly
always say
like the
that.
plot of everything is Lord of the Rings. It sounds exactly like the Winter's Kiss or Winter's Curse.
Kind of.
Like, exactly. I'm like, oh,
There's no
Castro
slave, though.
does that.
So but then her father is still like, no, this is happening. I am going to destroy your country because I have your oil, quote unquote. They have something that they need. And the guy she's in love with, the king of the other country, is like, well, yeah, I'm going to fight back. And she's like, why? We don't want war. What? You expect him to just be
No.
attacked and enslaved or killed off? No. And she couldn't, and he's trying to tell her, this is retaliation. I have to help my people. I can't just sit here and not do anything. But why? War is bad. Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
So that was terrible. And then the last thing that was really bad is what I hate is, so at some point she disappears and this guy is in the middle of a war. Guess what he's more concerned with? Her. Not the war.
Of course.
He's jealous because he thinks that she's off with his bachelor brother, and we're not concerned with the war that's heading our way. Great. Yeah, that book was bad.
Oh my God.
And it's Anna Banks, and I guess she's a popular author.
Mm-hmm.
I did not read her mermaid series, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Probably won't now, but
Oh
it's
boy.
not good.
Well, I have 2 books left. I'll
Okay.
be brief. My third to the last book is called Roseblood. This is a 2017 book by A.G. Howard, who's the author of the Splintered series. I loved the Splintered series. She kind of takes a classic piece of literature and turns it into a paranormal fantasy, magical realism type thing. So, this next series that she has decided to make her own is Phantom of the Opera, which is probably my other favorite classical piece of literature. I know it very well. I didn't expect an exact retelling. That's not really what I wanted. But she basically just uses the Phantom of the Opera story as window dressing for bad plots and tropes and a horrible main character. Um, the main character is a slut shamer. She's incredibly insecure. She's a Mary Sue who doesn't seem to realize that she has these earth-shattering powers, despite the fact that everyone seems to tell her that she does. She's not very intelligent. She meets this guy who's supposed to be like the Phantom counterpart. He's really the Phantom's like protege. And then this Phantom's protege decides that he's going to protect her from the Phantom, who has been his father figure his whole life. He was very much abused and like left to die, and the Phantom, found him and gave him a new life. And he just decides he's gonna betray this person and save the girl with not a second thought. I'm sorry, that's not how that works. And everybody is like falling over their feet at this girl's like powers. It just, none of it made sense. And might I add, it was incredibly boring. It took me 2 months.
I was gonna say, it took you a long time
to read this book.
Like, Elise, what are you reading? First Frost Blood, first whatever.
Rosebud.
Elise, what are you reading 5 years later? Frost Blood.
I mean, come on. It took me, I was like, just go one more page. Oh my, nothing was happening. It was just like her waffling over the fact that, oh my god, my grandma tried to kill me. I think I'm responsible for my father's death. I think I am because I almost also killed this other kid at a party who I tried to kiss. What is happening? Like, oh my god. Oh my god. She was so obnoxious. And like, I like that, A.G. Howard picks characters with a lot of family trauma, and she really makes that the central part of her plots, and I thought she did it so well in Splintered, so I don't know what happened here. Anyway, I gave that book like a 2. My next book, even worse, Blood Rose Rebellion. Woo! Also a 2017 debut. This is a debut author. I don't remember her name. Same kind of story.
There.
Yeah, I know.
You don't even care.
I mean, I almost feel bad. Rosalind Eves?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's her name. I was drawn to the book because it takes place in Hungary during the Hungarian Revolution, which I know nothing about, or rebellion. I guess Hungary used to be owned by Austria and the Habsburgs, and they were kind of just a minority that was very much mistreated, did not have a say in their own government. And a rebellion took place. So the author takes that real event and makes it sort of a magical realism type thing, where there's this secret society of aristocrats who are magical, and they control all of the magical power in the world, and they don't let anyone use the magic. But this girl seems to be able to break spells, so she thinks she's powerless, but she can actually break spells. And so, again, a Mary Sue who does not know that she's soon to become, like, the Katniss Everdeen of her world. And there's this, like, forbidden romance with a gypsy, which they call Romani in the book because gypsy's kind of a derogatory term in that world. And, I don't know, it was just boring. It just plodded along. Like, 300 pages in. Like, that book needed to be edited.
How long was it? 300
It was over 400 pages.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it's a lot of waffling. I don't know. Oh my god, should I do this? I don't know who's telling me the truth. Blah, blah. It's like two sides. The aristocrats want her to do one thing, and then this like Romani group wants her to do something else, and she's torn between the two.
I think it might be Romani,
whatever. Romani, yeah. So it was just bad. Yeah, it's just bad. And then of course, Assassin's Heart was my worst book of the year. So, Ooh, that book was so bad.
That book actually made me not want to read any more debut fantasy authors.
Oh, that is
For some
awful.
reason, fantasy is tough to write.
It
And
is.
if you're a debut, contemporary debuts tend to do a better job, but fantasy debuts, I took a leave of absence from reading debut fantasy for the rest of the year. I was like, I am
you
not
weren't reading any fantasy.
Not by
Gosh.
debuts, I wasn't. I am not anymore.
Yeah.
So I read a couple of debut fantasies this year. Gilded Cage.
Mm-hmm.
Gilded Cage was really
That
good.
book was great.
Actually, The Daughter of the Pirate King, if you want a good pirate book, that one was pretty good. I'd recommend that.
So those were our worst books of 2016. Join us next time when we are going to pick up our reread of the Harry Potter series with The Chamber of Secrets.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.